All right, joining me now is UFC bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling. Aljo, man, we're just about 10 days out from the title fight. It's been a wild year for you, right? Since your last fight. I mean, we've had delays and surgeries and a bunch of controversy with the way that the first fight ended, and you going back and forth with Piotr on Twitter. I mean, now that we're finally here, it's approaching. What kind of mental space are you in? Do you feel like you're in a pretty good place?
I feel like I'm in a great place. It's finally the light at the end of the tunnel. It's been a long year, almost 13 months since I've last competed. So it's nice to get back to what I've been doing for so long, man. I like activity. I like to be active. I like to compete. Something I've been doing since I've been a sophomore in college, high school, I should say. So to go from that and to kind of just being stagnant and not having anything to look forward to, it's a tough road. But now that we're finally here, things are finally looking up again, and I'm hoping after this I can keep the momentum going and bang out some more fights like back to back kind of thing, So that's where I'm at right now. I'm just excited to compete and ready to shut all these critics up and these professionals, these couch potato professionals, and really just stick it to Yan and show him that I am who I say I am.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the champ life been like for you? Because I feel like obviously you have a little bit of a unique experience with just everything, like you said. You probably have more fans quantity wise now than you ever did, but you also have more doubters. And I'm sure as a young fighter, when you were on the come up, you envisioned yourself winning the belt someday, but maybe not the way that it happened and the way things went down and everything that happened afterwards. So, I mean, is that something that weighs on you at all? Like, does it add any extra stakes into this whole thing, or have you just become so immune to all the nonsense online?
Definitely immune to the nonsense. So I entertain it from time to time because I'm on my phone and it is just something I've always done. I don't block people. I don't mute them. Um, I just entertain it. And for me, it's just the next chapter of my career. That's really it. So it's been a long time coming. All the chatter. Um, Finally be able to compete with the fans, getting an opportunity to prove that I've been the champ the entire time. When I beat Corey Sandhagen, we were the two best guys in the division. Yeah, he beat Sandhagen, his first top 5 guy that he ever beat in his entire career. And we should it's just ironic how when Sandhagen and I fought, I was 2, Sandhagen was 4. I was coming off of my second back-to-back win over a top 5 guy in Pedro Munoz, who just knocked out Cody Garbrandt, and that was in 2019. So my resume speaks for itself. And then to do that, and in Sandhagen just beating Rafael Sunsao, we were the highest profile guys with the best win streaks over the most credible opponents in name value. And Yan beat Jimmy Rivera after I beat him, and then he beat unretired Uriah Faber, who just came back, and that gave him an opportunity to fight for a vacant title against someone who just lost a split decision to Marlon Moraes. So the fans were the ones that was calling me the uncrowned champ. I knew I was the uncrowned champ. So to me, that was a title fight. I've been the champ since back in 2020. Whether or not I actually had the UFC piece of metal, that's whatever to me, So I botched my first fight with Petr Yan, and I get an opportunity to do it the right way this time. So for me, no one could ever take that away from me and try to tell me that my championship or me ever winning the belt wasn't legitimate. Because Yan having the belt sure as hell was not freaking legitimate. You know what I mean? So just because the UFC said this matchup is the one that gets the fight for the belt, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, there's no other sport where the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed can beat everyone in their bracket, and somehow, some way, the number 5 and 6 guy can leapfrog those guys and fight for or play the game for the championship. That just doesn't make any sense. So this is a very wacky sport that we're in, and it's a very kind of a popularity contest kind of thing. And the UFC does a great job of running their business. Their entertainment first and everything else is after, So they're in the business of making money with the most amount of money that they can make and squeeze out of everybody that they can. And I get it. That's why they've been so successful thus far, right? So I look at that, and I don't have an issue with people being upset about it. I'm not upset about it. At the end of the day, no one's going to ever make me feel bad about it. You can say whatever you want, but the facts are the facts. and we should have been the guys that should have been fighting for that vacant title anyway. And when I'm feeling good, when I'm on top of the world, it's just a different Aljamain Sterling. Like that fight with Petr Yan was not the same Aljamain Sterling that everyone's used to seeing, and I can't wait to right that wrong and show everybody that I'm far from delusional. I know exactly what I'm talking about, and the skills are legit and the skills are real.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, like, the facts on that fight, I think is a lot closer than people were making it out to be. Sure, he was pulling away at times and momentum was in his favor, but I mean, he was the one that kneed you in the head. I don't understand necessarily why people are using that against you, but is there any sort of semblance for you where you would like to, you talked about the popularity, that how much that weighs into matchmaking. Is there any part of you that's like kind of wants to win that popularity contest? Like, is it important for you to try to win people over in this fight, or to kind of swing those opinions, even if they're haters? Like, they do have some say in this whole kind of equation. So does that mean anything to you to try to kind of win them over on Saturday, on next Saturday?
Yes and no. At the end of the day, as long as they respect what I've done, that's it. I don't need them to like me. I don't need them to come up to me asking for pictures and that type of thing. Like, that stuff, it's honestly for the birds. Like, who gives a shit about that? That shit can fly away at any given moment. As you see, one day they're on the bandwagon, the next minute they're talking shit, commenting, saying, I used to be a fan. Motherfucker, you were never a fan. Go fuck off and piss off somewhere. I don't give a shit. Like, why do you feel the need to come out of your day to tell me that? Like, I really don't understand. I would never understand people that do shit like that. But at the end of the day, like, I don't get anything out of it. I'm in the sport to make fucking money, to cement my name in history amongst the greatest bandweights of all time, and that's really it. Like, everything else is icing on the cake. So I'm going out there, first time actually making pay-per-view points. I think anytime you're fighting on a pay-per-view card, there's a reason why you're on that card, and you should get a piece of the revenue. In that regards, I think it would make people go that much harder with promoting. And I think it's just a win-win for everybody. And Petr Yan is actually getting pay-per-view points too. As the interim champ, you get pay-per-view points. So I'm glad he's getting paid as well, because this is a big matchup. I think we both deserved it. It's It's a big fight. I think probably arguably bigger than the main event. And I think a lot of people are really dialing in to see this one. I mean, obviously you got Hamzat, super polarizing right now, taking on a very, very tough Gilbert Burns. It's a big card, so this is a great opportunity for a lot of us to showcase ourselves and everyone to prove who they are, and state their cases. And at the end of the day, I know Yan is a tough competitor. He wants to win just as bad as I do. And I just can't wait to punch him in the face and show him that I'm the man right now, and he can have his turn when I'm done.
Yeah, I think it's certainly the most anticipated. I mean, how can it not be? You guys have been linked for well over a year now, and I think people are really chomping at the bit for this rematch. You talk about your legacy, and I think obviously that this fight is a huge step in the right direction if you want to cement your legacy as the best bantamweight of all time. Righting that wrong, whatever you want to call it. So I guess, how do you do it? What did you fix? What did you kind of improve upon where you feel like you go out there and have a better showing this time around, and go out there and beat Petr Yan decisively?
I think it just comes down to what I've been saying since the very beginning. I need to make sure I actually have fuel in the Ferrari to do Ferrari things. Otherwise, I might as well be driving a Prius. You know what I mean? So anyone that's ever cut weight, just imagine yourself cutting weight and trying to compete against one of the arguably best guys in the world for 25 minutes. That's what that felt like. And I don't know how else to explain that to people to get it through their heads. So it's whether or not they want to believe me or they don't. That part remains, like, that part is irrelevant to me, because we're going to figure this out in a couple of days, and we're going to see if I'm really all talk or if I could back it up. And that's what gets me excited, because I know what I can do and what my skill level really is. And I get an opportunity to do it over again. And that's really it. Like, you can look at all the other performances. I come out the same pace. I go forward. I push the tempo. And when have I ever failed in terms of my cardio that fast? And not even because of anything that my opponent did, is literally how I came into the contest. I'm just going to make sure I don't make that rookie mistake again. Like, that was just really, really dumb on my part. And Yan was better that day, that night, and he blew it. So now is my opportunity to just erase that from people's memory. And that's all I could do.
Yeah, and do you feel like you've identified those things? I know we had talked, after the fight back last year, and you were saying, you thought it was something from your weight cut. You just kind of felt flat from the time that you woke up on fight day till the time you got through. You weren't feeling great. So do you feel like you've identified those things, whether it's nutritionally or weight cut or whatever, to kind of not have that happen again?
Yeah, so it's all the nutrition side of things, and I had a great morning shakeout, 20 minutes hard, a hard 20-minute shakeout, and I felt like I was like, this guy ain't gonna. In my head, I'm doing this, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy, and I went from that to what I ate right after, which was, shit you not, what the PI gave me for breakfast, and he also gave me lunch and dinner, but I was just too stupid to realize the time difference and how far the shakeout was to the time that I was actually going to compete. So from 10:30 in the morning when I ate 2 pancakes, 2 eggs, hard 20-minute workout after just having a ridiculous weight cut. Remember, I walk around 165 to about 170. I cut down to 135. So doing all of that and then just having that and then trying to compete from 10:30 to 8:30 at night and having nothing else in between. That's insanity. And again, I think if I can have that type of performance with almost no fuel in the tank, what's going to happen when I have fuel in the tank? It's going to be that pace in the first round that people think is so crazy. Go watch the Pedro fight. Go watch the Jimmy Rivera fight. Go watch the Sandhagen fight. I do the same exact thing. Even the Cody Stamann fight, I push the pace forward. I'm the one that's pushing the pace, going forward, trying to take charge of the action and dictate where the fight goes. And so for some reason, I just had a crazy drop off in output. I wonder why. Maybe what I'm saying has some weight to it, but there's only one way to find out, and that's going to happen April 9th.
Absolutely, man. I guess got 2 more questions for you. I saw, during this camp, and I think when you were training for the fight that ended up not happening last year, saw you brought in Adrian Yanez, and I was curious. A lot of times you see maybe a champion bring in somebody that's a little more established. Adrian Yanez is obviously, I think, by a lot of people's standards, one of the more rising prospects in that division. Can you talk about your decision to bring him in, like why and kind of how that's been, and how good do you think he could be?
I think he could be really good. He's putting in the time with his grappling and is getting noticeably better. And from the last time I brought him into this time, I felt like his defense was better, but then I also felt like my conditioning and my timing was way better than it was back in October when I brought him out. The last week of September, because after Marab fought Marlon Moraes, I went back home. I think it was Sunday, Sunday, so that we can start training on Monday when he got in. And night and day. So I think he's very, very talented. I think he could go really, really far if he keeps improving in his area that he's not the strongest, which is obviously his grappling. He's good, but he's not like an offensive grappler. He wants to sprawl and brawl. And I don't want to say brawl because doesn't sound very technical. He wants to sprawl and piece you up. The guy's good, accurate, very flowy on the feet. If you stay there, try to trade with him, you're going to be eating some shots. And it was good to have him out here for the second time for this training camp as well, because again, it gave me more confidence that, yeah, I'm not crazy, because it was getting to a point where people were I had to really look at what people were saying and wondering, like, am I really delusional? Like, am I really just making this up in my head about what I'm saying? Because I'm starting to feel like I'm the crazy person in the room. And sure enough, I realized after bringing him back out again that, nah, man, I'm right where I need to be. And I'm doing everything the way that I should be doing it. And good things are going to happen as long as I trust the process. So it was good to have him out here. Good look for myself. Good look for him. I think we both got to learn from each other. And even him going with Marab, I think he got to see a different outlook on what high level grappling is from both of us, and 2 different styles of grappling. I'm more of a jiu-jitsu guy grappler, where Marab is just, I'm going to take you down 100 times and just keep throwing you down and try to make you get up and exhaust you that way while punch you in the face. So it's he got the best of both worlds in that regards, and getting to work with Ray a bit, and obviously the Matt Serra BJJ, getting all the utilization of all the bodies that we have out here, because we got a lot of black belts, man. So even he was saying, like, round after round, he was going with black belt after black belt. And even if it weren't a black belt, if it was a brown belt, he had his hands full with a lot of good guys.
Yeah, man, that's great. Potentially the secret weapon there for you. And I guess kind of everything we talked about just now, can you just kind of put a bow on it? Like, come Monday morning, come April 11th. What do you think people are going to be talking about when they think back on your fight from the past weekend with Petr Yan?
The word that I'm hoping that people use after our fight is legendary. I that's the word that I want people to use, because I want them to remember everything that happened in the lead up to this. From Petr Yan pulling out the very, very first fight that we had back in 2020 of December. December 12th, he pulled out for personal reasons, whatever the hell that means. And then we had our fight. I had a bad day in the office, having the whole surgery, having to deal with everyone talking shit while my hands are literally tied behind my back and I can't do anything. And now we get the opportunity to figure out who is who. And the domination that I'm planning on having in this fight, if it goes the way I believe it can go, I think people are going to be using the word legendary, because I think it's going to be one of those type of performances that people are going to look back and be like, man, after all that shit, the fact that he came back and did it that way, there's no other word to describe how impressive it was.
I love it, man. I'm certainly rooting for that. I mean, it means we'd be in for a pretty good scrap. So, Aljamain, I appreciate the time, and good luck. Good luck, man.
Thanks for having me.